Astute Quotations, Part 5. Men of genius sometimes accomplish the most when they work the least. Leonardo da Vinci. To all who want to accomplish something, I say go into silence regularly for the power and the wisdom to accomplish. Elizabethtown, 1865-1960. Your chess deteriorates as your body does. Bobby Fischer. We don't rise to the occasion. We sink to our level of training. Taylor Clark, from his book Nerve, that came out in 2011. A coarse sailor is one who, in a crisis, forgets nautical language and shouts, "For God's sake, turn left!" Michael Green, from his book The Art of Coarse Sailing, 1962. Inspiration is a guest that does not willingly visit the lazy. Tchaikovsky. Delicate humor is the crowning virtue of the saints. Evelyn Underhill, scholar of mysticism, 1875 to 1941. May God protect me from gloomy saints. Saint Teresa of Avila, 1515 to 1582. Mediocrity knows nothing higher than itself, but talent instantly recognizes genius. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Talent is what you possess. Genius is what possesses you. Malcolm Cowley, novelist, 1898-1989. I feel as though that was someone else playing. I was possessed. Ringo. The real Zen of the old Chinese masters was Wu Shi, or no fuss. Alan Watts. There are some other books which seem to portray the thoughts of Zen properly, but whose authors are mere intellectuals whose experience is shallow. Their books are easier to understand, but they do not convey the essential quality of Zen. Eric Fromm, regarding the work of D.T. Suzuki. For any art to exist, for any sort of aesthetic activity or perception to exist, a certain physiological precondition is indispensable. Intoxication. Nietzsche. The rugby player, during the course of a game, is living life at its most intoxicating. Row Harding, or Roe Harding, from his book Rugby Reminiscences and Opinions, 1929. All seasoned players know, or at least have felt, that when you are playing your best, you are pretty much the same as in a state of meditation. You are free of tension and chatter. You are concentrating on one thing. It is the ideal condition for good golf. Harvey Penick, 1904-1995, golf pro and writer. My center does not come from my mind. Georgia O'Keeffe. The shot will go smoothly only when it takes the archer himself by surprise. Eugen Herrigel, author of Zen in the Art of Archery, 1953. Power is not revealed by striking hard or often, but by striking true. Balzac, 1799 to 1850. It is possible to fly without motors, but not without knowledge and skill. Wilbur Wright. It is this tendency to play with manic enthusiasm on every possible occasion that distinguishes the amateur jazz musician from the professional, often to the public detriment of the latter, who are regarded as snooty and unfriendly. Trumpeter Humphrey Lyttelton. Painting is easy when you don't know how. I'll say that again. Painting is easy when you don't know how, but very difficult when you do. Edgar Degas. I was thought to be stuck up. I wasn't. I was just sure of myself. Betty Davis. Golf professionals invariably trudge phlegmatically around the course, whatever emotions are seething within, with the grim yet placid and bored look of cowpokes slack-bodied in their saddles, who have been tending the same herd for 2 months. Journalist George Plimpton. When I used to gamble, I looked for guys with head covers on their irons. Those guys I could beat. Chichi Rodriguez, World Golf Hall of Fame. Never mistake motion for action. Ernest Hemingway. We still by no means think decisively enough about the essence of action. Martin Heidegger. Generous people are rarely mentally ill. Dr. Carl Menninger. I see things written about the golf swing that I can't believe will work except by accident. Harvey Penick, golf pro and writer. If the verbal description you create of a situation you find yourself in leads to paralysis and ineffectual behavior, then throw those damn words away and find yourself a new set. Moshe Feldenkrais, Israeli physicist and body movement educator. A physicist can describe the perfect golf swing and write it down in scientific language, but the smart golfer doesn't read it. The smart golfer gives it to his opponent to contemplate. Dr. Fran Parazzolo, sports psychologist. A musicologist is a man who can read music but can't hear it. Sir Thomas Beecham, conductor. He who studies the ball with hawk eyes is a worried man. Cricket great Frank Woolley. You don't just throw the ball, you propel it. Hall of Famer Warren Spahn. Stillness is where creativity and solutions are found. Meister Eckhart, renowned mystic, 1260-1328. One's action ought to come out of an achieved stillness, not to be a mere rushing on. D.H. Lawrence. Balance and stillness are to be found at the heart of all change. Dr. Andrew Weil. Among the great things which are found among us, the existence of nothing is the greatest. Leonardo. I've been 40 years discovering that the queen of all colors is black. Renoir. There are very few pitching coaches that I worked with who actually came out on the mound and told me what I was doing wrong with my knuckleball, because they just don't know. So I had to figure it out. I was on my own. Phil Niekro of the Atlanta Braves. You won't get any feedback. Werner Erhard. To a pitcher, a base hit is the perfect example of negative feedback. Outfielder Steve Hovley. This happened once before, when I came to your door. No reply. From the Beatles, from their masterpiece, no reply. Definition of existentialism: the realization that no one else can put on your pants for you. The vast majority of persons of our race have a tendency to shrink from the responsibility of standing and acting alone. Francis Galton, 1822 to 1911. You're never a loser until you start pointing your finger at others. NFL coach Sam Rutigliano. Take charge when you're singing. Country music legend Patsy Cline. When I open many books, or most leading women's magazines, or see almost all TV shows, I don't find myself at all. I am completely anonymous. My value system is not there. Bella Caroli, Olympic gymnastics coach. If I ever let the muse go to sleep, it is only that she may wake refreshed. Beethoven. Come the right moment, a pawn can bring you victory. Ho Chi Minh. There is a moment in every battle in which the simplest maneuver is decisive and gives superiority, as one drop of water causes overflow. Napoleon. On my teams, the goalie is the first attacker, and the striker the first defender. Johan Cruyff, Dutch football great. Play a defensive game with an offensive mental attitude. Tennis great Bill Tilden. His defense was invariably counterattack. Cricketer Bob Wyatt regarding cricketer Frank Woolley. In a series of games, the strongest defensive team survives. Tom Landry, head coach, Dallas Cowboys, regarding the playoff structure. We beat them 4-0, and they were lucky to get nil. Bill Shankly, former Liverpool manager. Placing the ball in the right position for the next shot, knowing exactly where to be on the green, is 80% of golf. Ben Hogan. Play the shot that makes the next shot easy. Tommy Armour, winner of 3 majors. Dressing a pool player in a tuxedo is like putting whipped cream on a hot dog. Minnesota Fats. The qualities of a second-rate rider can easily be defined, but a first-rate rider can only be experienced. It is just the thing in him which escapes analysis that makes him first-rate. Willa Cather, 1873, 1947. Often a certain abdication of prudence and foresight is an element of success. Emerson. I am of the opinion that my life belongs to the whole community. George Bernard Shaw. What does not benefit the hive is of no benefit to the bee. Marcus Aurelius, 2nd century AD. You can only apprehend the infinite by a faculty that is superior to reason. Plotinus. Thinking only begins at the point where we have come to know that reason, glorified for centuries, is the stiff-necked adversary of thought. Martin Heidegger, from his classic Being and Time. Real thinking is a momentary dismissal of irrelevancies. Buckminster Fuller. Clear thinking requires courage rather than intelligence. Thomas Zaz, Hungarian-born psychiatrist. We haven't got the money, so we've got to think. Ernest Rutherford, British physicist. 9/10 of everything is inessential. What is called reality can be summed up with so much less. Francis Bacon. Too much foliage and too little fruit. Pathologist Theobald Smith. A man walking is never in balance, but always correcting for imbalance. Anthropologist Gregory Bateson. Even at the highest levels of golf, perfect shots are almost accidental and extremely rare. Jack Nicklaus. A good round of golf is if you can hit about 3 shots that turn out exactly as you plan them. Ben Hogan. Perfectionism is self-abuse of the highest order. Ann Wilson Schief, psychotherapist/author. All rising to a great place is by a winding stair. Francis Bacon. When it comes to obstacles, the shortest line between 2 points may be the crooked one. Bertolt Brecht. Golf is not a game of great shots. It is a game of the most accurate misses. Hall of Famer Greg Littler. 9 times out of 10, in the arts, as in life, there is actually no truth to be discovered. There is only error to be exposed. H.L. Mencken. Golf is not a game of good shots. It's a game of bad shots. Ben Hogan, winner of 9 majors. From error to error, we discover the entire truth. Sigmund Freud. Without error, there can be no brilliance. Chess grandmaster Emanuel Lasker. Truth will sooner come out of error than from confusion. Francis Bacon. It is the true nature of mankind to learn from mistakes, not from example. Sir Fred Hoyle, astronomer. Victory goes to the player who makes the next to last mistake. Savielly Tartakower, chess grandmaster and author. Grandfather speaking. It's my considered opinion that you're a bunch of sissies. Said John Lennon. You're just jealous. From A Hard Day's Night. There is no workman, whatsoever he be, that may work both well and hastily. Chaucer. Whoever is in a hurry shows that the thing he is about is too big for him. Lord Chesterfield. It's not when you brake, but when you take the brakes off that counts. Most people don't understand that. Jackie Stewart, Formula One racer. The nervous system and the automatic machine are fundamentally alike in that they are devices which make decisions on the basis of decisions they have made in the past. Mathematician Norbert Wiener, originator of cybernetics. A man with a so-called character is often a simple piece of mechanism. He has only one point of view for the extremely complicated relationships of life. Playwright August Strindberg. The way you react has been repeated thousands of times, and it has become a routine for you. You are conditioned to be a certain way, and that is the challenge, to change your normal reactions, to change your routine. Don Miguel Ruiz, author of The Four Agreements. I turn pale at the outset of a speech and quake in every limb. Cicero. The pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. Carl Jung. When I was younger and inexperienced, I was a very animated pitcher. I pitched with a lot of adrenaline. I was my own worst enemy when things weren't going well. Hall of Famer Randy Johnson. One of the finest sights in the world is this: the other man's ball dropping in the water, preferably so that he cannot see it, rather so that he can see it, but cannot quite reach it, and has therefore to leave it there, thus rendering himself so mad that he loses the next hole as well. Henry Longhurst, British golf writer and commentator. We often give enemies the means of our own destruction. Aesop. You've got to find a way to get out of your own way. Hall of Fame pitcher Steve Carlton. Those who know how to win are much more numerous than those who know how to make proper use of their victories. Polybius, Greek historian from the 2nd century BC. One more such victory and we're undone. Pyrrhus, upon defeating the Romans in 279 BC. The time your game is most vulnerable is when you're ahead. Tennis great Rod Laver. It is an ironic habit of human beings to run faster when they have lost their way. Rollo May, psychologist. We're lost, but we're making good time. Yogi Berra. When they're in a jam, a lot of pitchers try to throw harder. I try to locate better. Hall of Famer Greg Maddux. A man is as old as his arteries. Thomas Sydenham, The English Hippocrates, 1624 to 1689. Unforgiveness is the most prolific cause of disease. It will harden arteries or the liver and affect the eyesight. In its train are endless ills. Self-help writer Florence Scovel Shinn. Concentration is a fine antidote to anxiety. Jack Nicklaus. Concentration is not staring hard at something. It is not trying to concentrate. Timothy Galway, from his book The Inner Game of Tennis, which met with a lot of resistance from tennis coaches when it first came out. What I said to them at halftime would be unprintable on radio. Jerry Francis, manager of Tottenham, 1995. Unless a person knows how to give order to her thoughts, attention will be attracted to whatever is most problematic at the moment. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, author of the book Flow, 1990. You have freedom when you're easy in your harness. Poet Robert Frost. Choking is about loss of instinct. Panic is reversion to instinct. They may look the same, but they are worlds apart. Malcolm Gladwell. Let the first impulse pass. Wait for the second. And that comes from Balthazar Gracian, 1601 to 1658. Individuals who cannot master their emotions are ill-suited to profit from the investment process. Benjamin Graham, investment pioneer. There are no safeguards that can protect the emotional investor from himself. Billionaire J. Paul Getty. Missing a short putt does not mean you have to hit your next drive out of bounds. Sir Henry Cotton, winner of 3 British Opens. The most consistent golf is played by the aid of the subconscious mind. C.W. Bailey from his book The Brain and Golf, 1924. Hello, I must be going. Groucho Marx from Animal Crackers, 1930. He was all red and in a sweat, though the room was not hot, and his face was painful and piteous to see, particularly from its helpless efforts to seem calm. War and Peace, or should I say, From War and Peace, as Count Rostov gambled away his fortune. A gambler is someone who plays slot machines. I prefer to own slot machines. Donald Trump. In most betting shops, you will see 3 windows marked Bet Here, but only one window with the legend Pay Out. Author Jeffrey Bernard. The outcome of a fight will be determined, that is lost, by he who wants it too much. The one who's quicker to leave his game plan because he desperately wants to beat the other guy. Boxer Sugar Ray Robinson. Suppress the enemy's useful actions and encourage his useless ones. Swordmaster Miyamoto Musashi. The primary objective of match tennis is to break up the other man's game. Tennis great Bill Tilden. If you don't have a strategy, you are part of someone else's strategy. Futurist Alvin Toffler. The scars left from the child's defeat in the fight against irrational authority are to be found at the bottom of every neurosis. Eric Fromm. It helps if the hitter thinks you're a little crazy. Baseball Hall of Famer Nolan Ryan. Every great hitter works on the theory that the pitcher is more afraid of him than he is of the pitcher. Ty Cobb. Nolan Ryan is pitching much better now that he has his curveball straightened out. From television commentator, albeit a very boring one, God bless his soul, Joe Garagiola. With few exceptions, sports broadcasters function as publicity men, not reporters. Jimmy Cannon, sports journalist, 1909 to 1973. When archers shoot for enjoyment, they have all of their skill. When they shoot for a brass buckle, they get nervous. When they shoot for a prize of gold, they begin to see 2 targets. Shang Zhu from the 4th century BC. Almost every catcher goes through a phase during which he can throw perfectly to second, but with men on base, he can't throw the ball back to the pitcher. Jeff Torborg, baseball catcher, manager, broadcaster. Fundamentally, the marksman aims at himself. D.T. Suzuki. This completes Astute Quotations Part 5.